Hello everyone, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon, because what's happening right now could mark a turning point in this entire war. For the first time since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, explosions have rocked the Russian capital itself. Moscow, the heart of the Kremlin's power, is under direct attack. Millions of residents are in panic as Ukrainian drones and missiles have reportedly struck several critical targets, including one of Russia's main weapons production facilities. The city that once felt untouchable is now experiencing the war firsthand, and the shock across Russia is unlike anything seen before. Overnight, massive blasts were heard in multiple districts of Moscow. Residents were jolted awake as air raid sirens echoed across the city, something most Muscovites thought they would never hear. Videos quickly flooded social media showing fireballs rising into the sky, thick black smoke covering industrial zones and emergency vehicles racing through the streets. According to early reports, Ukrainian long-range drones and possibly cruise missiles struck defense plants in the outskirts of the city, including facilities tied to missile and drone production. One of the main targets appears to have been the Kymi industrial complex, which is responsible for manufacturing guidance systems for Russian missiles used in Ukraine. Another explosion reportedly hit a power station that supplies energy to Moscow's defense network. Russian state media initially tried to downplay the incident, claiming that air defenses successfully intercepted all threats. But local footage told a very different story. Windows shattered, fires burned for hours, and panicked citizens rushed to underground shelters and metro stations. For the first time, Muscovites experienced the same fear that cities like Kiev, Kharkiv, and Odahavi lived with for nearly 3 years. What makes this attack especially significant is that it wasn't symbolic. It was strategic. Ukraine appears to have targeted the very factories that supply weapons for Russia's war machine. Analysts believe the strikes were designed to send a clear message. Moscow is no longer a safe zone. As dawn broke, the scale of the damage became clearer. Satellite images showed multiple fire sites across the northern and western suburbs. Firefighters struggled 4 hours to contain the blazes as secondary explosions erupted from munitions stored inside. The Ministry of Emergency Situations declared a state of emergency in several districts, while Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin urged residents to remain calm. But calm is the last thing that could describe the mood in the city. Traffic collapsed as people tried to flee. Gasoline stations ran dry within hours, and long lines formed outside ATM as rumors of further strikes spread. This attack represents one of the boldest moves yet by Ukraine. For months, Ukrainian officials hinted that Russia's illusion of safety would soon end. Western-supplied long-range drones and precision-guided systems now appear to be in play, allowing Kiev to strike deep into Russian territory without direct NATO involvement. It's important to note that Ukraine has not officially confirmed the operation, maintaining its usual policy of strategic ambiguity. However, several senior Ukrainian sources have suggested that these were payback strikes for Russia's relentless missile attacks on Ukrainian cities and energy infrastructure. The psychological impact inside. Russia is immense. Moscow has always been portrayed as impenetrable, a fortress city shielded by advanced air defenses systems and layers of security. But this attack shattered that image overnight. Russian citizens are now confronting the reality that the war they once watched on television has arrived at their doorstep. Videos circulating online show residents shouting in disbelief, demanding answers from authorities. In a known viral clip, a woman says, "They told us we were protected, but now the war is here." In the Kremlin, chaos and confusion are reportedly spreading. President Vladimir Putin held an emergency meeting with top defense and security officials just hours after the explosions. Sources close to the administration describe an atmosphere of rage and humiliation. Putin is said to have demanded an immediate response, ordering the Russian military to intensify its missile strikes across Ukraine. Within hours, air raid alerts sounded across multiple Ukrainian regions as Russia unleashed another wave of retaliation. But analysts argue that this cycle of strike and counterstrike could now spiral beyond control. The global reaction has been swift. Western intelligence agencies have confirmed that Ukrainian drones successfully penetrated one of the most heavily defended airspaces in the world, bypassing multiple radar and missile systems. NATO officials have not commented directly on the operation, but European leaders have reiterated that Ukraine has the right to defend itself by any means necessary. Meanwhile, inside Russia, opposition figures are using this moment to criticize the Kremlin's false promises of security. They point out that billions of rubles were spent on air defenses. Yet even the capital was not spared. Economically, the impact is already visible. The Moscow Stock Exchange temporarily suspended trading after early reports of the attacks. The ruble fell sharply against major currencies, and oil prices spiked amid fears of instability in the Russian heartland. Factories across the country have been ordered to tighten security, as intelligence reports warn of further strikes targeting the defense industrial complex. Some analysts believe Ukraine may be pursuing a strategy of systematically dismantling Russia's war infrastructure from within, not just on the battlefield, but at its core of production and logistics. In cities like St. Petersburg, Nisnog, and Tula, local authorities have started preparing contingency plans. There are reports of increased anti-air defenses being deployed around nuclear sites and major oil refineries. Meanwhile, civilian morale in Russia appears to be cracking. For the first time, discussions of evacuation and mass panic are being reported in Moscow Telegram channels. Residents are stocking up on essentials, water, food, and medicine, fearing more attacks to come. Many express anger, not at Ukraine, but at their own leadership for dragging them into a war that was supposed to be distant, but is now very real. The symbolism of this moment cannot be overstated. Moscow, the symbol of Russian might, is burning. The Kremlin's power narrative has been pierced both literally and psychologically, even if the physical damage is contained. The mental shock will linger. In previous wars, the Russian population was shielded from direct suffering. Now they're tasting the fear and uncertainty that Ukraine has endured for years. This could reshape public opinion, potentially sparking unrest or calls for accountability within the Russian elite. There are also growing concerns that Russia might escalate further in retaliation. Some fear the use of more aggressive military tactics, including large-scale missile strikes or even hybrid attacks across Europe. Others warn that internal instability could deepen as blame circulates within the Russian command structure. Intelligence insiders suggest that rival factions inside the military may use this crisis to advance their own positions, especially after recent reports of failures within Russia's air defense network. In Kiev, the mood is one of restrained triumph. Officials see this as a sign that the tide is turning. After enduring relentless bombings and blackouts, Ukrainians are now showing that they can hit back, not just defensively, but offensively. President Vladimir Zelensky hinted earlier this week that the war will reach those who started it. These words now carry a new and powerful meaning. Ukraine's message is clear. There will be no safe haven for those fueling this invasion. As night falls again, the skies over Moscow remain tense. Air defense systems have been activated across the region. An unconfirmed report suggests that more drones are being intercepted near Thessaly. The Kremlin has declared a high terror alert, mobilizing internal security forces. Roads leading to major government buildings have been blocked, and armored vehicles have been spotted patrolling the city center. Despite the censorship, Russians are now sharing one message online. The war has finally come home. This could be the beginning of a new and unpredictable phase of the conflict. The line between front lines and homeland is disappearing, and with every explosion in Moscow, the illusion of control weakens. Whether this escalation will push the Kremlin toward negotiation or total retaliation remains to be seen. But one thing is undeniable. History has just shifted. The world is watching as the war that started on Ukraine's soil now engulfs the Russian capital itself. So stay tuned for more updates as this story continues to unfold. What happens in Moscow next could determine not just the outcome of the war, but the future of Europe's security. If you found this video informative, don't forget